Welcome to Thrive with Megan and Harry, and welcome to our special for Black History Month. Welcome. Today we will be discussing Viola Irene Desmond. She was a Black Canadian, and she was from Nova Scotia in Canada. Viola Irene Desmond, born July 6, 1914, died February 7th, 1965, was a Canadian civil rights activist and businesswoman of Black Nova Scotian descent. In 1946, she challenged racial segregation at a cinema in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, by refusing to leave a whites-only area of the Rosen Theatre. For this, she was convicted of a minor tax violation for the 1 cent tax difference between the seat that she had paid for and the seat that she had used, which was more expensive. Desmond's case is one of the most publicized incidents of racial discrimination in Canadian history and helped start the modern civil rights movement in Canada. In 2010, Desmond was granted a posthumous pardon, the first to be granted in Canada. The Crown, in right of Nova Scotia, also apologized for prosecuting her for tax evasion and acknowledged that she was rightfully resisting racial discrimination. In 2016, the Bank of Canada inaccurately announced that Desmond would be the first Canadian woman to be featured on the front of a Canadian banknote, but that honor actually went to Agnes Macfall, who appeared along with 3 men on a small print run to commemorate the note issued in 2017 to mark the 150th anniversary of the Confederation. In late 2018, Desmond became the first Canadian woman to appear alone on a Canadian banknote, a $10 bill, which was unveiled by Finance Minister Bill Morneau and Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Poloz, during a ceremony at the Halifax Central Library on March 8, 2018. Desmond was also named a National Historic Person in 2018. Viola Desmond was one of 10 children of James Albert and Gwendolyn Irene Davis. Viola grew up with her grandparents, who were active in the Black community in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Despite the fact that her mother was white and her father was Black, which was uncommon at the time, Viola's father had to work as a stevedore for a number of years before he became a barber. Growing up, Desmond noted the absence of professional hair and skin products for Black women and set her sights on addressing this need. Being of African descent, she was not allowed to train to become a beautician in Halifax, so she left and received beautician training in Montreal, Atlantic City, and at one of Madam C.J. Walker's beauty schools in New York. Upon finishing her training, Desmond returned to Halifax to start her own hair salon called Vi's Studio of Beauty and Culture. Her clients included Portia White and Gwen Jenkins, later the first Black nurses in Nova Scotia. In addition to the salon, Desmond opened the Desmond School of Beauty Culture so that Black women would not have to travel as far as she had to receive proper training, catering to women from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Quebec. The school operated using a vertical integration framework. Students were provided with the skills required to open their own businesses and provide jobs for other Black women within their communities. Each year, as many as 15 women graduated from the school, all of whom had been denied admission to whites-only schools only training schools in Canada. Desmond also started her own line of beauty products, Vi's Beauty Products, which she marketed and sold herself. Viola Desmond joined her husband, Jack Desmond, in a combined barbershop and hairdressing salon on Gottingen Street on November 8th, 1946, while on a business trip to Sydney to sell her beauty products. Viola Desmond's car broke down in New Glasgow. She was told that she would have to wait a day before the parts came to fix it. So to pass the time, she went to watch a movie. There were no segregation laws for movie theaters in Nova Scotia, and this theater had no sign telling its patrons about the policy. But main floor seats were reserved for white patrons, and a discriminatory practice permitted in all Canadian provinces. Desmond was sold a ticket to the balcony, and unaware of the segregation, and being nearsighted, she went to sit on the floor in the floor section to be close to the screen. When she was asked to move, she realized what had happened and refused to move because she had a better view from the main floor. When she requested to exchange her balcony ticket to the main floor for an additional cost, she was refused and forcefully removed from the theater, which caused an injury to her hip. She was also arrested and spent 12 hours in jail and had to pay a $20 fine for tax evasion, which was a very hefty fine back then. The tax on the balcony price of 30 cents was 2 cents. The tax on the floor price of 40 cents was 3 cents. She was convicted of depriving the government of 1 cent in tax. Desmond was kept in jail overnight and was never informed about her right to legal counsel, a lawyer, or bail. Upon returning to Halifax, Desmond discussed the matter with her husband, and his advice was to let it go. However, she then sought advice from the leaders of her church, the Cornwallis Street Baptist Church, where the minister, William Perley Oliver, and his wife, Perline, encouraged her to take action. With their support, Desmond decided to fight the charge in court. Following her decision to fight the charge, Carrie Bess broke the story of Desmond in the first edition of the Clarion, the first ever Black-owned and published Nova Scotian newspaper. Bess closely covered the story of Desmond on the front page, and she had herself previously confronted the racial segregation at the Rosen Theatre. With the help of her church and the Nova Scotia Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NSAACP, Desmond hired a lawyer, Frederick William Bissett, who represented her in the criminal trials and attempted unsuccessfully to file a lawsuit against the Rosen Theatre. During subsequent trials, the government insisted on arguing that this was a case of tax evasion. A provincial act regulating cinemas and movie theaters required the payment of an amusement tax based on the price of the theater ticket. Since the theater would only agree to sell Desmond a cheaper balcony ticket, but she had insisted upon sitting on the more expensive floor ticket, she was only 1 cent short on tax. The statute used to convict Desmond contained no explicitly racist or discriminatory language, of course. Bissett's decision to opt for a judicial review rather than appeal the original conviction proved disastrous. Desmond's lawyer tried to appeal the decision on the basis of her being wrongfully accused of tax evasion, not on the basis of racial discrimination. When dismissing the case, Justice William Lorimer Hall said, had the matter reached the court by some other method than certiorari, there might have been an opportunity to right the wrong done this unfortunate woman. One wonders if the manager of the theater who laid the complaint was so zealous because of the bona fide belief that there had been an attempt to defraud the province of Nova Scotia for the sum of 1 cent. Or was it a surreptitious endeavor to enforce a Jim Crow rule by misuse of a public statute? Her lawyer, Bissett, refused to bill Desmond, and the money was used to support William Purley Oliver's newly established Nova Scotian Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Later in life, after the trial and encounter with the legal system of Nova Scotia, her marriage ended. Desmond closed her business and moved to Montreal, where she could enroll in a business college. She eventually settled in New York City, where she died from gastrointestinal bleeding on February 7th, 1965, at the age of 50. She is buried at Camp Hill Cemetery in Halifax, Nova Scotia. William Purley Oliver later reflected on Desmond's legacy. This meant something to our people. Neither before or since has there been such an aggressive effort to obtain rights. The people arose as one and with one voice. The positive stand enhanced and had the prestige of the Negro community throughout the province. It is my conviction that much of the positive action that has since taken place stemmed from this. Desmond is often compared to Rosa Parks, given they both challenged racism by refusing to vacate seats in whites-only sections and contributed to the rise of the civil rights movement. Despite Nova Scotia and other Canadian provinces having Jim Crow laws, for instance, in education, there was no law specifically enforcing segregation in theaters. On 20th of January 2019, Tema Fractor, a Nova Scotia teacher at the Booker School, was awarded the Governor General's History Award for her class's proposal to build a statue of Desmond in Cornwallis Park. Her proposal was to include the existing Edward Cornwallis statue among 3 other statues of Acadian, Noel Doran, Black Nova Scotian Viola Desmond, and Micmac Chief John Denny Jr. The 4 statues would be positioned as if in a conversation with each other, discussing their accomplishments and their struggles. Apology and pardon. On April 14th, 2010, the Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, Marianne Francis, on the advice of Premier Darrell Dexter, invoked the royal prerogative and granted Desmond a posthumous free pardon, the first to be granted in Canada. The free pardon, an extraordinary remedy granted under the royal prerogative of mercy, only in the rarest of circumstances, and the first one granted posthumously, differs from a simple pardon in that it is based on innocence and recognizes that a conviction was an error. Frances herself, a Black Canadian, remarked, "Here I am, 65 years old, a Black woman giving freedom to another Black woman," about her signing of the petition. The government of Nova Scotia also apologized. Desmond's younger sister, Wanda Robson, and Graham Reynolds, a professor of Cape Breton University, worked with the government of Nova Scotia to ensure that Desmond's name was cleared. There was a public acknowledgement of the injustice, and Nova Scotia reaffirmed its commitment to human rights. The provincial government declared the first Nova Scotia Heritage Day in her honor in February 2015. Desmond's portrait also hangs in Government House in Halifax, Nova Scotia. In 2021, prompted by a request from Ontario high school student Varishini Diotrand, the government of Nova Scotia offered a symbolic repayment of Desmond's original court fees to her only surviving family member, Robson. When Robson said she would use the money to make a one-time donation for a scholarship at Cape Breton University, the province increased the repayment from the current valuation of $368.29 to $1,000. The province also issued a commemorative check to display in its legislature. Original court costs were only $26. So, Viola Desmond is on the $10 bill in Canada. And she was an amazing Black Canadian woman, and she stood for amazing things. Thank you. Bye. So basically, Viola Desmond was the first Black woman to be, to be on the $10 bill in Canada, the Canadian $10 bill. What an amazing lady. What an amazing feat. And Viola Desmond, actually, she was biracial, just like Megan. By the way, I forgot to mention that earlier. She was biracial. So she was just biracial. So yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for liking and subscribing and sharing. And remember that Megan said it's not enough to just survive something. That's not the point of life. You've got to thrive. You've got to feel happy, unquote. And also, I wanted to thank Nutty Doctor for the super chat that she sent. And I also wanted, so anyways, thank you so much, Nutty Doctor. And also, Lydia Washington and Mrs. S, thank you so much for supporting my channel by being members. And just remember, membership is available also, and you can send a PayPal if you want to support the channel. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for joining me for the historical the Black historical hero section. I guess I can call it. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.